Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to talk about is what I call a golden triad. Recently I started talking about what I call golden watch companies. These were companies that I think have two things. One, they have very high quality, and second of all, they have a some kind of entry level for watch collectors. Now, some of these entries are still pretty high, but they're at least they have one. Now, the three German companies I'm going to talk about, they're wonderful watches, but I gotta say, as far as entry level, they don't seem to have too much in the way of entry level. But there are ways to get into them, and we'll talk about that too. Now, uh, the first one, well, I got three here, I might as well introduce them. The first one is A Lange und Sunde. And of the three, this is the only one that is owned by a larger watch group holding company. And this is the Richemont. Richemont owns a lot of top watch companies, including Vacheron Constantin, Jaeger-LeCoultre, Cartier. So we're dealing with a company that is set up for profit. I mean, there's I guess there are no two ways about it. You got to be careful in the watch company. I mean, in the watch business. Otherwise, it's very easy to go broke. The second company that I want to talk about is Lang and Hein. They're in Dresden, Germany, which is south of Glashütte, where most of the other watch companies are. Uh, Lang and Hein was really started by Marco Lang, and around 2018 or so, he left. There was some kind, I don't know why exactly, and I think it was some kind of financial thing, and there was, whatever the differences were, Marco Lang left. Now, Marco Lang, in my opinion, is really the best living watchmaker in Germany, if not in everywhere. Fantastic talent. And all but one of the watches have movements by Marco Lang. So I'm wearing one now. This is Friedrich II. Friedrich II. My German is non-existent. And the final one is Moritz Grossmann. This is another company. I have one of their watches. This is called an Atum, and it's it's wonderfully accurate watch, and it's a watch I very very much like. Both of these watches, both my German luxury watches, are fantastic. So let's take a look at these. Now, the first one I want to look at is the A Lange und Sunde. The entry level, if you can call it that, is a Saxonia thin. And the one I found, their entry level is around 23,500. And it's 37 millimeter in pink gold. I found them in pre-owned from about 13,000, and there are two types. And if you're looking for one of these, some of them are 35 millimeters and some are 40 millimeters, depending on what you want. A lot of people prefer the smaller ones for a formal watch. Others, like me, I sort of like the so I can see it okay, the 40 millimeters. The movement in that is an L0 LO93.1 manual wind. One of the things you're going to find about all of these watches and all of the companies is that I didn't see any, but I believe all of them are under 4 hertz. In other words, they're about 21,600 semi-oscillations per hour, 3 hertz, or they're 2.5 hertz, 18,000 semi-oscillations per hour. That to me is important, and they're all fantastic watches. So the entry level here would be, I found, was the Saxonia. By and large, too, you really have to look around. Some of these say including the tax. Well, if you got a 19% tax, you can deduct that and find out really what it's going to cost you, which is a lot less. Unless, of course, you're in Germany or someplace where they have a VAT, a hefty VAT. Now, the third or the second watch company I'm going to look at is the Moritz Grossmann. Moritz Grossmann is another company who has fantastic watches. Their prices are awfully dear, I'll put it that way. The Moritz Grossmann, their entry level that I could find was called the Bennu Heritage Central Seconds. Every now and then they'll have a special watch like this one, and the price is a little more reasonable. By the way, too, I put on this Ming bracelet. None of the Moritz Grossmanns come with metal bracelets. They all come with either gator or cowhide straps. This watch, the caliber 100.11, manual wind, 18,000 semi-oscillations per hour. That was what I just said, 42 hours reserve. Now there's one I found, it's called the Enamel Black. And it may be one of those watches that they used to have and they don't have anymore. Anyway, I found it, so the price on that one is $32,300. That would be the entry level price. But like I said, I poked around and found them for better prices. With Moritz Grossmann, it's the hardest one, I think, to find where you had a real drop in price. They got their wonderful watches. I think you could probably find one maybe in the $20,000 range. That's one of the problems that I perceive with all of the German companies. They start off very high and they stay very high. Now, people who have one say, well, that's pretty good because it retains its price, and that's true, it does. Okay, the third one in my triad is the Langenheim. Like I said, I'm wearing a Langenheim. I really, really like Langenheim. One of the things that I sort of had to get over after Marco Lang left, I felt very bad and was sort of upset because all of the designs were his designs. The people who took it over pretty much carried on his quality and everything else, which was a good thing. And they introduced one that this is pretty close to their own movement that wasn't one of Marco Lang's. Marco Lang did a caliber, it's called 33.1. You can see it, I have sort of a picture of it over there. I love this movement. It was, I think, originally made, oh, we're going to sell this to other watch companies and so forth. And they did for a while. And it was basically a time only, hours, minutes, and had a small second. And so what they did with the Hector, they added, they moved it to a center second, and is now called the 33.2. But otherwise, it's the identical movement that Marco Lang had. This is, of course, would be at the introductory level. Now, they had it for 16,000 something euro, and but that included the VAT. So I took the VAT out, and it was 14,202. So that may be the price that somebody can get translated to dollars or pounds or whatever whatever you use. So the other ones, the Friedrichs, this is the Friedrichs 2, they have Friedrich 3, then have all these other ones. The movements are just amazing, all of them. These were all done by Marco Lang. By the way, Marco Lang has his own company now called Marco Lang. It always has been, really. I think the first year Lang and his friend Hein were together in Lang and Hein, but after a year, Hein left and went up to, I think he's back to working at Onlanga. Okay, so those are it's sort of like there's the front door as far as collectors, and unfortunately it's more like a moat with a drawbridge. It's very high. So let's take a look at the sort of the models that they have in each one of these, and it's sort of a quick overview. We'll start again with Longo and Sunda. The prices range from around 23,500 to 180,000. Probably more than any of the other two on the pre-owned market, secondary market. This is the one company I think where you can find something. You'd be able to find a watch that would be under 20,000. It'd be a pre-owned watch, so look for it. Lang 1. Now this is the other thing about they have the Lang 1, the Zeitwerk, Saxony, and so forth, and these are not the only models. And then under each type they have several different models. Some have ones that you wonder how come. Well, what are they doing in this category? Because they're so different. And there's probably not a complication that they don't have. Excellent watches. A very popular one is Zeitwerk, which is a jumping hours and minutes. You can see it in the top middle up there. The sort of their sporty sport watch is called the Odysseus. And all of these watches, though, are, like I said, they're fairly expensive watches. And the best way to find out about it is to take a look online, because a lot of them are priced around the VAT or not VAT, and to look at where you would buy a watch, and you can probably get the best idea of this. But they have a reputation of having fantastic watches, and quite a lot of quality you can find there. Now this next one, Mertz Grossmann. But one reason I like it so much, I know Christine Hutter, who is the CEO and really the brains and power and energy and everything else behind this brand. When I got this watch, I simply got it because I was able to find a good buy on one that I could afford. And so I've been using it since. It is such a good watch. It's just good in so many ways. One of the things they have on the Mertz Grossmann is sort of interesting. They have this little button here, and once you wind and set it and you're all ready, then you can push the button to crank it up again. If you're really into hacking, this is almost a hacker's dream, because you can get it set just right and then wait and then push the button and boom, it'll start right at the top with the second hand where you want it and everything else. I don't know, I get just about, I think all of these watches have hacking. I am not a hacking fan, but I could imagine the Germans, there's no way that you could have a watch. You must have the exact timing on it, which is a good thing. Anyway, the collection here, there's a page. Check out the Mertz Grossmann site. There was a page with nothing but what they sold out of, which is like, well, thank you very much. But here are the main types of watches. They have, first of all, they have a Bennu, and then they have a heritage and a contemporary. The heritage is more of the large decorated fonts, more like I guess sort of what are called brigade fonts. But and then on the more contemporary, they're more modern looking, but essentially they're very similar watches. Uh, that particular one that's showing there, that I believe is a dual time, a DMT. So anyway, lots of interesting stuff. The Tefnet is another series. They have two here, the classic and the jewelry. Let me say something about Tefnet. I'm not showing one there, but a number of years ago I was at an art show in New York, and I saw somebody who was twisting the top. It looked like there was a bar lug up here, and they were turning the bar lug. I thought, what was that? And it was a Tefnut twist, and that's how they wind it. Instead of having a crown, they simply thought, well, here's this bar lug, isn't doing anything, we'll put it to work. Wound it up. So this is a really interesting company. I urge you to take a look at their website with all of the different watches under these. Like Longa, I don't know if there's a grade of consistent logic under, like you'll see something, what is this doing in this category? You'll see it here too. Wonderful watches. The Tefnut jewelry watches has some beautiful watches for women, and great company. It is expensive. That's the only downside. Now the final one, coming back, this is Lang and Hein. What they have is that they have all these different models, but they're all the same in a category. So like Hector has several different colors, and they may have both the bracelet and the band. I'm not sure. The Georg is one of my very favorite. Turn that thing over and you can see the entire gear train. Wonderful, wonderful watch design. The Anton is a similar version to the Georg, except it's also a tourbillon. The Frederick II, again, it's in different metals. Now mine is the least expensive one because I got it in steel, but they come in steel and in white and yellow gold, and they may also come in platinum. Now the Frederick III, by the way, too, the movements in these watches is really wonderful. They're set up so that you can see a lot of the movement. This one has what's called a trigonal bridge, and the whole thing is on this bridge, and so you can see most of the movement. Fantastic horology by Marco Lang. Frederick III is the same, except they have Roman numerals and fancier hands. Otherwise, Frederick II and the Frederick III both use what's called the caliber 6. The Johann and the Frederick August, these are two other models. And finally, the Moritz. There's another one with the Moritz, and they have a Remontois Égalité in them. So, but the prices of these they range from 16,900, I believe would be for the Hector, to 160,800 for, I believe it's for Platinum Anton. So there you have it. Those are sort of what I call the golden triad, or golden trio. Anyway, well, listen. I wanted to include the German watches, and I didn't mean to. The reason I haven't used all three of these, there are a lot of other German independents, including Marco Lang, Stefan Kadoki, several other really great German watchmakers. So these aren't the companies, big companies, are not the only ones. But I thought, as a collector, these are things, if you want to take a look at some really top watches, these three places have them. Would like to hear your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any of these watches, I'd love to hear your comments about them. This is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. Until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.